The day my son called about the house, I could still hear the boy in his voice. "Dad, we found it. This is the one." He was a grown man by then, married, climbing the ladder at his firm, but in that moment, he was 7 years old again, telling me about his first fish. I had just retired. Decades of overtime, of driving cars older than he was, of saying no to vacations so I could say yes to his future. It all sat in one account, waiting. My wife, his mother, had died a few years earlier. Cancer took her slow and cruel, and after she was gone, the house went quiet in a way I never got used to. Work and that hope for Andrew's future were all I had left. Helping him buy a home wasn't a transaction to me. It was the last gift his mother and I had left to give. He and his wife Sarah had been hunting for months before they found it. A 3-bedroom colonial with a big yard. Their credit wasn't strong enough, and the bank wanted more than a guarantor. They needed a co-borrower. So my name went on the loan in blue ink, right next to his. Not a co-signer, a part owner. To me it was just fatherhood. I helped them move in that weekend, painted the guest room, hung their pictures, and when Andrew said, "Thanks, Dad, we couldn't have done this without you," he meant it. I could tell. That was years ago. Time slides when you're old. You don't notice the distance until you're miles from where you started. The calls got shorter. The visits thinned out. I told myself it was just the normal rhythm of young married life. But when I visited, Sarah was polite in the way a hotel clerk is polite. She'd hand me coffee and pull her fingers back before they could brush mine. If Andrew and I talked too long, she'd find him a chore. I brought her flowers on her birthday, remembered their anniversary, gave them savings bonds at Christmas. None of it thawed anything. Some people carry a pride that needs to forget whose hands held them up. I never knew if Sarah resented the help or just resented being reminded of it. And Andrew just let it happen. He went quiet, agreeable, absent. Being a good husband, in his mind, meant siding with his wife and looking away from his father. Then, after 3 years of near silence, the invitation came. A Friday evening, a plate of reheated spaghetti, my phone buzzing on the counter. "Dad, we're having a housewarming Saturday. We'd love for you to come." I cried a little. Right there in my kitchen. I told myself it was an olive branch. I bought a new light blue shirt because Sarah once said she liked that color on men. I got a haircut. Andrew texted that morning. "See you at 3. Most people come at 4. Family photo before the crowd." Family. I drove out with my heart hammering, a hand-carved welcome sign on the seat beside me that read, "The Johnson family." The house looked beautiful. Balloons on the mailbox, cars already lining the drive. I'd barely touched the doorknob when Sarah's voice cut behind me. "Peter, the front door's for guests. Can you go around back?" She stood there in cream silk and pearls, smile tight as wire. "We're doing family photos by the gazebo. Don't want foot traffic on the carpets." I told myself she was just stressed. I walked around to the yard like a delivery man. The backyard was a different world. Catering staff, champagne, guests from the wedding. And presiding over all of it was Margaret, Sarah's mother, dressed like money, directing people where to stand like she owned the place. Andrew stood beside her, nodding along. When he saw me, his face didn't light up. It flinched. "Dad, you made it." He took my gift without looking at it and set it on the bar table. "Lot of people here. Just hang tight. No hug, no handshake." He turned back to Margaret. The photographer called for immediate family. Sarah pulled her mother into the center of the frame like royalty. I stepped forward, waiting to be claimed as the father of the groom. Sarah's eyes found me. "Peter, we just want the core group first." Then she took my arm, gently, sweetly, for the benefit of anyone watching, and walked me to an old oak tree at the edge of the yard. Not under it, behind it. "Just a few minutes," she said, syrup in her voice. "We don't want the shot looking crowded." I stood behind that trunk for 20 minutes, while they laughed and posed on the other side of the leaves. I watched my son glance toward me once, only once, and look away. I told myself I should walk over, say, "I am immediate family. My name is on the deed." I didn't. Decades of being agreeable had worn a groove in me too deep to climb out of in that moment. I stood there and let the tears come, and wiped them fast so no one would see. After the photos, I overheard Margaret near the drinks table, glowing. Such a relief to have the mortgage sorted. We were so worried. Sarah agreed. We're lucky the financing worked out. Not one word about the down payment. Not one word about 3 years of payments before that, or the decades of saving before that. As if the money had fallen from the sky. I needed air. I found a bench near the garage, put my head in my hands, and that's when I heard them. Sarah, Margaret, Andrew, just past the fence, not knowing I was within earshot. I don't know why you even invited him, Sarah was saying. He makes everyone uncomfortable. My mom said he was lurking by the front door. Margaret, sharp and certain. Andrew, you need to be more assertive. This is your house, your life. He needs to let go and find his own. And then my son's voice, and it cut deeper than anything. He can be a bit much, I know, but he helped us out. Helped us out. That was my retirement fund, reduced to a favor. Sarah scoffed. That's not an investment. That's a parent's duty. We've paid our dues just by inviting him. And Margaret, almost gleeful. His name on the title is just a technicality. We'll refinance and get him off eventually. Andrew sighed. Yeah, we'll deal with it. Something in me went very quiet and very cold. The fog of wanting their approval simply lifted. They had forgotten one thing, an undeniable legal fact I carried in my glove compartment and my safe deposit box. They wanted me gone. Fine. But I wasn't going quietly. I dried my face, straightened my shirt, and walked around to the front porch, instead of back to the party I wasn't welcome at. I wanted to hear the lie spoken in daylight. That's where I found Mark, an old colleague of Andrew's from his first job, a mentor type, talking to a departing couple, nodding at the little address plaque by the door. I handled the closing paperwork, he was telling them. The mortgage is under Andrew and his father, joint tenancy. Without his dad's credit and down payment, they never would have qualified. I thought it was strange I didn't see him in the family photos. The couple looked stunned. Mark spotted me and lit up. Peter, there you are. I was just telling them how impressive it is, you and Andrew doing this together. Behind him, I saw Sarah's face appear around the corner of the house. She'd heard every word. The color drained out of her. She rushed over. Mark, that's private, please. Why would it be private? I said, my voice calm and even. It's a beautiful story. A father giving up his retirement for his son's future. My name is on that deed. I'm a co-owner of this house. Guests were turning to listen now. I pulled the folded copy of the title from my jacket. I'd carried it for years, a quiet reminder of sacrifice. And now, finally, a weapon. Today I was told to enter through the back door. Today I stood behind a tree while my own family took photos without me. A gasp moved through the crowd. Margaret came storming out. Peter, you're causing a scene. I'm answering the question that was asked, I said. I turned to Andrew, frozen on the porch. I want to talk to you, inside, now. He followed me into the living room, pale, stammering apologies. Dad, I didn't know she'd... You didn't know she'd hide me behind a tree? Didn't know Margaret would run this house like she owns it? Didn't know they were talking about me like garbage to be dealt with? He had no answer. Here's how this goes. Tomorrow you'll come to my house and we'll discuss a buyout. You pay me the market value of my half, or we sell and split it. I will not be quietly erased from my own family. Dad, we can't afford a buyout. Then figure it out. I gave you a home. You repaid me with an embarrassment. I am not your bank account. I'm your father, and you forgot that. I walked out past the stunned guests and didn't look back. Behind me, Margaret was already shrieking at Andrew for letting me ruin everything. I drove home, shaking, angry, but not broken. The phone rang all night. Andrew, Sarah, Margaret. Until I let the battery die. I knew what they wanted. An apology to smooth it over. A quiet signature, giving the house away for free. I wasn't giving them that. The next morning I went to my lawyer with the deed and every loan document I'd kept. He confirmed what I already knew. I was a legal co-owner. They couldn't erase me. They'd have to buy me out. That evening, there was a note taped to my door in Andrew's shaky handwriting. Dad, we need to talk. I know I messed up. You're right about everything. Please call me. I'm begging you. I read it twice, felt the tears rise again. Different tears this time. Grief instead of pain. But forgiveness isn't a switch you flip for someone who was only sorry after getting caught. I threw the letter away, froze the shared house account, and called a realtor. The market had grown kinder than any of us expected. My half was worth a small fortune. I didn't care about the money. I cared that they understand you cannot treat a person like garbage and expect them to stay silent. When I listed the house, Andrew called in tears. Sarah's parents were furious. Sarah was threatening to leave him. He was losing everything. I listened and felt nothing where the panic used to be. Andrew, I told him quietly, you lost me the day you let your wife hide me behind a tree. I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing it because I refuse to be invisible. I hung up. The story of that housewarming spread through their whole circle, faster than any of us could have stopped it. Weeks later, the house sold at full price to a young couple expecting their first child, people who would never know what had happened on that lawn. I drove out once more before the closing, walked through the bare rooms, and looked out at the yard, at that oak tree, small and ordinary now, just wood and bark, no longer a monument to my shame. Andrew was waiting on the porch, thinner, grayer, undone. Sarah left, he said. She said she couldn't live with a man who couldn't protect her from his own father. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel much of anything. I'm sorry to hear that, I told him. But she was never the problem. You were. You let her treat me that way, and now you have to live with what that cost. He begged to move in with me. I told him no, that he was a man now, and it was time he acted like one. I couldn't forgive him that day. Maybe not tomorrow either. He needed to feel the weight of what he'd let happen. I didn't attend the closing. The money landed in my account, more than I'd ever held at once, and it felt less like victory than like standing in an empty room. But months passed, and slowly I came back to myself. I joined a chess group at the community center. I took long walks. I let the anger scab over into something quieter. I understood, finally, that the only person I could ever really control was myself, and that in refusing to be erased, I had already won whatever there was to win. Half a year after the sale, there was a knock at my door. Andrew stood there, leaner, humbled, none of the old entitlement left in him. I don't have anything to offer you, he said. No house, no wife, no job. I'm starting over. But I need to ask you something, or I don't think I can move forward. I nodded. That day, behind the tree, why didn't you scream? Why didn't you make her stop? I looked at him a long moment. Because I was waiting for you to do it, I said. I was waiting for my own son to say, Dad, come stand with me. You never did. So when I finally did speak, it wasn't with my voice. It was with my actions. He dropped to his knees on my doorstep, sobbing an apology I'd waited 3 years to hear. I helped him up. Come inside, I said. We have a long way to go. Respect isn't inherited, it's earned, and once it's spent, you have to work to buy it back. The justice was in the truth coming out on that porch, in the house sold out from under their perfect picture, in watching my son fall far enough to finally look up. But the redemption, if there was any, started that night, at my kitchen table, 2 broken men trying to remember what family was supposed to mean. The house was gone, but the door to what was left between us stood open, just a crack. And sometimes a crack is all you need to start building again.